in bursts and come across, and it's 30 millisecond time division. So every 15 milliseconds, you've got it, it splits it up, okay? And so you've got the reception there. Talk groups basically are identification numbers. There's, for example, in the continental United States, there's 50 talk groups. There's one talk group for every state. Iowa's 3119, Texas is 3148, Hawaii's got one, everybody's got one. So you can dial in. Then you create sub-talk groups as well. Or I can push some buttons here and I can actually call, if I want to get a hold of Dick, I can call him radio to radio. So everybody has an ID. My ID is 3119139. 3119 is Iowa, 139, 139th ID issued. And others have 3119 with other IDs. The neat thing about this is this repeater, within the repeater, this repeater here, if I unplugged it from the internet, it's still going to work. We'd be talking within the RF range of the repeater itself. So if there's a disaster, we can quickly, rapidly deploy a repeater into a disaster area and at least start getting communications going. Then our next goal would be is to get linked either through satellite or cellular or whatever. We're using cellular today to link this repeater here. There, I just kerchunked and opened up the repeater. So you can have your multiple conversations. And we have had discussions with the National Weather Service. We have a 31199 channel talk group. And that talk group, National Weather Service is getting committed with, where during bad storms, they're going to use that to communicate with storm spotters or EOCs. And that we're still working on. All this started the end of November. We didn't know anything in the middle of November. We started this whole endeavor in mid-November. So it's been just unbelievable. So we have the ability to have direct radio communications from mobile to handheld or vice versa with multiple users just using the repeater itself and not even be linked on the internet. However, we can, and these repeaters, and we have little hotspots that are out there. Here's one here, I'll pass it around. That little hotspot's about a $200 item. You hook that up to your router and you're on the line. And this Brandmeister network, if we have time, we'll try to show you a little bit of that. And there's your little hotspot, another means. It's like having a personal repeater, okay? So internet's not required, but it's certainly desired if you want to talk to Berlin, or you want to talk outside the area of your repeater, okay? So talk groups, there's a ton of them. When you look at them, we have static talk groups, which all of our repeaters in Iowa all have 3119 as a static talk group. That way, when I key my mic, this is W0GEN seeking a radio check. When I key my mic, see if there's anybody out there.
Good, Marshalltown, Bill. NF0T.
Okay, Marshalltown, Iowa. NF0T, great to hear you, Ryan. We're just kind of demonstrating DMR to folks down here at the Collins Radio Club in Cedar Rapids. So, we could pass a radio around. There's a full caller ID.
All right, well, good afternoon or evening to everyone down there.
Name, number.
Just do a little bit of grocery shopping, heading north towards home.
He's mobile. See, now I pushed my mic too quick. See, it's very disciplined. Oh, that's great, Ryan. NF0T, this is W0GEN. We're clear and monitoring Iowa 3119. So you kind of see how that works. Now, I just want a quick question. How many user IDs do you think's in this little Chinese Titera? Oh, shit. I drop it all the time. That's part of plan. Yeah, mobile, thank you for contacting us. This is W0GEN. We've got a clear for a few minutes here for the presentation. Thank you for your response. W0GEN clear. So there's other people, they love to talk. Now, I drop this radio at every presentation. I haven't broke it yet. Chinese crap, but commercial quality. Does it have a flashlight like a bullpen? No, it doesn't have a flashlight. And it won't flash. But it's unbelievable, the quality of this radio. I've had to tear apart. Out of hundreds that are out there, we had one that went bad. Internally, the audio went out on it, and I had the pleasure to tear it apart. And because everything is public, I had the schematics and everything, and it was pretty cool, but well built, really well built. And it was missing a solder joint, so it still had issues. Now, with that said, the question was, how many? I heard 1,000. How many IDs do you think is in this radio right now? I updated it this morning. It's got 59,000 worldwide IDs in it right now. If somebody calls me from Germany, and you've experienced this, haven't you? You see who it is, don't you? Isn't it cool? 59,000. Now, the Motorola, this heavy-duty 400, close to $500 radio, it can only have the IDs you load into it. Well, I don't want to drop that one. Pass that around. No, I'm serious. I won't drop that one. That's got too much money. But $100, I'd take my chances. One day I dropped it, and the battery come off the back of it, and put it back together. It still worked. It's just. Is that a tier 1, 2, or? This is a tier 2. Good question. What's a Motorola? That's a tier 3, because that will do roaming. So how much are tier 3 radios? We'll get into that here shortly. So you have these static talk groups. So when I key my mic, I'm firing up, so what is it, 24 repeaters now throughout Iowa? And anybody else that's monitoring. We have people that come in. One guy from Switzerland comes in all the time to talk to Iowans. I love talking to you guys. So we think we're static on his. I think he's running an open spot, one of those hot spots. Now, we also have dynamic talk groups. What that is, if I change my channel, right now I'm on W0GN Iowa ALO. I kerchunk. I have just opened up the repeater, this repeater, for 15 minutes. It's a dynamic talk group. And so now I've just opened up Iowa CID6 as dynamic. Oh, that's ALO, I'm sorry. I opened up Iowa ALO too. So I guess it is static on this repeater. But anyway, push to talk. And so this is one of those systems that's allowed to kerchunk without doing an ID. So you kerchunk it to open it up. Then you start listening. That's good protocol. You listen, then you...
Kerchunk it, we're going to know who you are anyway.
Yeah, your ID comes across. But the nice thing is, you don't want to just key the mic. Like if I go to Iowa Cedar Rapids, if I just key my mic, call out my ID, I may be busting into somebody's conversation. So I'm going to kerchunk. I opened up Cedar Rapids. I'm going to listen. W0GN on Iowa Cedar Rapids channel. So you see, and then now other people in Cedar Rapids anybody that's on this repeater is going to pick it up. Now, the Cedar Rapids repeaters are static on the Cedar Rapids channel. But the repeater up in Humboldt, Iowa, he's not static on the Cedar Rapids channel. So if I told him, let's use that channel, he's got to push to talk to open it up, for us to both talk. So we have to do that by design. When you say, hey, let's go to Cedar Rapids, make sure you call me too. Because they're not going to hear you keep calling. It's not going to hear it because it's dynamic. So you can see we have all these sub-channels: Des Moines, Southeast Iowa, Northwest Iowa, Upper Midwest. It's the whole region. And North America, US 3100, United States Calling Talk Group. This is the most active talk group on the system, and you'll hear people talking all over the world. They love to talk to people in the United States. Let's get back to Iowa here. We have these districts. These districts are based on ARES districts. They're also the districts that Iowa Highway Patrol uses. Homeland Security and that. So we set up our subgroups with our forethought that, you know what, we're going to have more and more people use this. We need to get other talk groups. So we officially got Brandmeister to accept them, approve them, give them naming and everything. So we were leveraging ourselves to have multiple users to be able to use it. Okay? So then we have a National Weather Service channel, or SEOC, which is for your emergency communications. Now, I'm jumping ahead because of the time. Code plug. What is a code plug? It is the database. You guys use Chirp possibly on some radios to program radios. That's called a CPS, a customer programming software, CPS. A Chirp, when you load your radio using Chirp, that is a code plug or a database. That's the data that's in the radio. So that's the terminology that's used for DMR, and it's Motorola terminology. Okay?
So that's how you got the 59,000.
Now, there's an experimental firmware. Because this is open source, there's some people out there that figured out how to load the whole DMR database in using experimental firmware. That's what gave us the nice caller IDs. Traditionally, we just had the ID of the contacts just loaded in the radio. But you can use this experimental firmware and flip a switch and open it up to the world. Color code. A color code, every repeater, we've got a repeater in Marshalltown, Iowa that is color code 3, and a repeater in Mount Pleasant is the same exact frequency, but it's color code 1. So these two repeaters can work in the same area. It's like a PL tone, but it's called color code. Again, I'm trying to go very fast, try to stay at the highest level we can here. No. Every repeater has its own coordinated frequency. It just so happened that the coordinated frequency that was in Marshalltown was the same one that was in Mount Pleasant, I believe. Is that?
Found out is neither Mount Pleasant or Marshalltown are
So does
coordinated.
the database
Yeah.
control the coordinated frequency too of that repeater?
Yeah, when you program the code, yes.
All of that.
We have in here, you can have up to 250 zones on this radio. We have a zone for every repeater. We have a zone called Iowa east of I-35, all the repeaters. So if you travel, you just click one channel and you're on a different repeater.
And so when you're moving in a vehicle and you're close to a town, you don't remember a number. So how do you?
Yeah, I can go right over here and I can see where it says Ackley, Independence. We have it named. They're all named. We named them. Yes, right. Okay. Master code plug here, it kind of gives you an idea. Bondurant has their own zone. Marshalltown has their own zone. Here, the format of each zone. Channel 5 is Iowa Des Moines, Channel 1. Channel 5 for Marshalltown is Iowa Des Moines, Channel 1. So we built the common code plug to be, no matter what zone you're in, Channel 1 of your radio, you click your top dial, it's going to be the same. So that makes it pretty nice. And then we have zones that contain all the repeaters. And that's growing because the number of repeaters is growing. We're actually going to be introducing some additional zones. So now it might be Iowa East and North, or I'm not sure the logic we're going to do yet, but we're working on that. And yes, you can have them roam. Some of the Motorola's, you flip there, you have a channel 1 on the Iowa zone, it just says roam. You go to that channel as you're driving, it automatically changes to the repeater. It's pretty cool.
What channel and zone is radio to radio?
Every channel can be radio to radio. You can basically push talk around and go talk around on any repeater, or you can go to simplex. Simplex is a digital channel.
I mean, but
You can have digital simplex or analog simplex. You can use national simplex, the analog. Is that?
okay.
It's a UHF radio.
You're just using UHF symbol.
You can have. We have analog repeaters in here as well, as in a zone called analog repeaters. Yeah. Yeah, it's still analog. Now soon.
Abandon all the analog stuff.
No.
Okay.
There's not a lot of people to talk to on them, but we have them here and here. The other neat thing is there's radios now coming out that are dual band DMR, and now that gives you the VHF and UHF. But that's just hitting the marketplace now.
So they'll do DMR and
Yeah, we have
Yeah, they all do analog. Yes, they're analog This one's analog UHF, just like that Motorola we're passing around is analog UHF. Pass that around if you want. There's a nice weight to that radio. It's not like one of those Baofangs. So that radio, the MD380, is what's being passed right now. They run about 100 to 120. You can sometimes get them as low as $90. And then the 390, which you can get with built-in GPS, it runs about 170. The hotspots, they run about $215. These are really cool. I have a second home up the Mississippi River. I unplugged my open spot from my router at home. I'll plug it in my truck, and I'll use kind of what you saw Dick passed around, that little blue box. I have my mobile unit, so this is what we were doing before we had so many repeaters pop up in Iowa. Now I don't have to hardly do that. That's pretty cool. When I get up the river, I take my hotspot, plug it into my router, put the power on it. It takes 6 seconds. It marries itself back up. I'm online. 6 seconds is all it takes to boot up. You use a little TP-Link routers, home Wi-Fi, or a cell phone hotspot to interlink if you want. You've got your handhelds. They run anywhere from 180 all the way up to $700, depending on the feature set you get and how good the condition is of them. Connect Systems has nice radios, $130. Hytera's got some. I think they get all the way up to $700 for those things. Then you get into mobile. You can get Motorola used radios from $150 all the way up to $400, depending whether you want color display or analog. Here you go all the way up to $650. You get remote mounting kits, remote heads. Thank you. So you get a lot of flexibility there. And again, other companies. And that's the other difference is DMR Mark, Motorola Amateur Radio Club, you can't use a Hytera radio in their system. There's no cross. They don't accept some of that stuff. So that's the other thing nice about Brandmeister. We can't use that little hotspot on a DMR Mark system. They don't allow it. Repeaters. This repeater I bought on eBay. I think I got about $1,100 in it. You know, they run anywhere from $800 to $1,300. The one up in Grundy Center is a 50 watt. That cost us right at $2,200. That was the first one we bought. Then we learned about DMR and we said, let's try to save some money, so we started buying some used equipment. You can put remote receivers. We have not done this yet, but some of these repeaters have the ability to put remote receivers in, so you can expand your coverage area, because obviously they transmit and they'll go out a lot farther than what they'll hear. So you can do stuff like that. There's 100-watt versions as well, and there's a few of those in Iowa already. Up in northwest Iowa, they've got some 100-watters running. Duplexers, anywhere from $250 to $700. Now, this network structure I was telling you about. I need to go back to the back of the room to show you this, and I think we have time. I'm going to show you this Brandmeister network. Excuse me. Okay, this is the Brandmeister. Can you hear me all right? This is the Brandmeister dashboard. There's 675 repeaters worldwide running right now, and there is there's 1,641 hotspots, so you kind of get an idea of what's going on out there. But what I want to show you real quick, this last herd is pretty cool. We're going to click on that. And I'm going to type in, see this is conversations going on right now worldwide. By the way, this is public. You guys just go to brandmeister.network. By the way, we have a Facebook page, Iowa DMR Users Group. You go to that Facebook page, we'll accept you if you want to join. We have links, we have a files section, and popular links. All this stuff's in there. Iowa DMR Users Group. So here, I'm going to type in 3119. And maybe somebody can go ahead and key a mic there. In fact, there you see Dick just kerchunked his radio. And you know, you can have a conversation going. You can see what's going on. There's several people talking on Iowa 3119. Okay? Oh, okay. So now I'd like to show you something really cool. Data visualization, and Scott, I can't hardly see it. Am I on the right one? Network structure. This is so cool. This is why we love Brandmeister. This is the world of DMR. And this thing is going to grow, And every one of those yellow dots is a repeater, and every one of those red stars is a hotspot.
And the server's in the middle. With
Yes, thank you. There's 4 active servers in the United States, and they act as backups to each other. Then there's a one that's a full back. There's a conversation going right now, and you can follow that and figure out what repeater is it they're talking on. And I can find my mouse here. I'm having a struggle here with this. There we go. Like right now, if I click on one of these, hover over this, there is a MMDVR repeater. By the way, some of these repeaters are Yaesu repeaters that have been converted to DMR, much to the delight of Yaesu. Okay? And I think it costs, what, a couple $100 to do that, Scott? Less than that. So people are, because it's open source, people are figuring this stuff out. Okay? There's a conversation going right there. If I click on this little green dot, well, it disappeared. But anyway, you kind of get an idea. What's neat about it is, if I can find, and again, I don't know if I can, this is server, hello. This is really crazy because I can't see this same thing on the computer up here. What server is that? 3102? So,
we're connected to 3101.
right. If we found 3101 on this list, which we commonly will do, we'll choose it, and somebody will hold the mic in, and it'll see your communication going out in the World Wide Web, and you can follow it, and you find yourself. It's pretty neat. But I want to show you that. Okay, we're going to get back to the presentation now. But Facebook, Iowa DMR Users Group 3119. Pretty powerful. It's not for sale. So, we talked about, let's see, I'm really short on time. I don't think we have time to go through some of this. Well, I don't want, okay, we've got this relationship we've started with the National Weather Service. And we are working with, this was not planned until we saw all these repeaters start popping in here. So, oh my God, we got the ability to talk about storms coming across the Great Plains, And the National Weather Service got all excited too. And they're proceeding with funding within themselves to set up repeaters and get on DMR. And yes, there's procedures that have to get developed. You have certain channels, all that's got to get figured out. But there's a lot of opportunity. But and then you have these hot spots you can have around. They could be mobile. So you could have your storm spotters out there with a hot spot. You got APRS running. Now you got the ability, they can see where you're at. When a storm spotter keys his mic, the National Weather Service can see who it is. Not only that, the Brandmeister, we can go back in there and we can go to an archive, and it's got 90 days of all the communications archived. So everything we talked about tonight on the radio has been archived for 90 days. I can go back to it, find the date timestamp, play it back. It's just like the law enforcement, they record all communications, right? A lot of the reason is because they need to go back later and litigate or whatever. Well, we have the same ability. Now, the National Weather Service, we have a tornado, they can go back and they can review and make sure all the things that was done correctly, and can we improve communications? Who do we need to train, or what do we need to do that makes it better? It's all archived. And then you have your Emergency Operations Center as well. Yes, sir.
I take it, is the Weather Service using the ham bands, or they have their own frequencies?
The National Weather Service has a series of linked repeaters, and I don't think we have that slide here, or do we?
No, we don't, but they have, they're amateur bands. They have some linked.
There's different methods they use. One of the issues they've had is reliability of those links. If one repeater goes down, the whole link system's down the way it's, because they're radio to radio and one has to depend on the other. And there's been some issues. And plus, there has a lack, because they don't have talk groups or structure of that sense. They told us, we turned the volume down. There are people out there chit-chatting on the channels. We're busy, there's a storm. They turn the volume down. They won't hear us. So you got to use your cell phone as a storm spotter or some other means to get a hold of them. And they're not going to hear you on the radio.
That's why they like DMR, because it's a separate talk group just for them.
Dedicated to them for their use.
They're notified in advance.
So what happens, I don't know if this has ever happened in this area. Have you guys ever had a flood? Okay. See, so we could have a flood down here, right? And this has happened. Well, now you can deploy, bring in a, now in a flood, chances are if you had a repeater in Cedar Rapids, it'd already be there. We wouldn't have to deploy a portable. But now you got all these handheld radios, these cheap little radios. You got some organizational structure. You got immediate communication, whether it's a flood, whether it's RAGBRAI, or other purposes. And there was a question of what happens if there's too many people on a repeater. I'm a sysop for 17 repeaters, okay? And there's other repeater owners. We have the ability to go in through the Brandmeister network and shut off talk groups. So if somebody's chit-chatting over here, in fact, every one of these radios, channel 16 of every one of these radios has, like within W0GEN, it's got a channel called disconnect. You flip it to it, you key the mic, you let up on it, it disconnects those dynamic talk groups. So we shut off the static, we make dynamic or make static RAGBRAI channel or the National Weather Service channel, so we can dynamically change things. And then you just got to get in there. Maybe you have to do a little chewing. Say, hey, there's an emergency going on. This channel is being reserved for this use. Please stop your chit chat. I mean, you know, we're all hams, so I think there's opportunity. And Scott mentioned we have a weekly net now. And not only is it a weekly net, we have a net, Tom is the net control manager. We have the net operators. We have one, how many have we, 8 signed up? Yeah, our goal is to have everybody as a net operator at some point of their life. And we, right now, have successfully done 5 nets with 5 different, 6 with 5 different operators. And so we have the experience out there throughout Iowa, because they could be up in Humboldt, Iowa doing a net for the whole state. And so if there's truly an emergency, readiness is there, and we've got more than one net operator that can come to the station. And it's a roll call style net, just because of the number of people. And like Scott said, we get about 50, 60, sometimes, well, like Easter weekend, I think it was 35? 41, so a little bit low. People were out visiting families. So we rotate net control operators. And then we publish all the results to the Iowa DMR Users Group Facebook page. That's it.
What about data?
What about what?
Data.
Data.
Does it support data?
Well, there's messaging is supported. Now again, we started this endeavor in the end of November. We've been just starting to play with GPS, using APRS and that, trying to learn that. And that's a kind of data. And we also, messaging is part of the function, but we haven't gotten into it heavy. It is not like a pack, or what's it called, some of the digital systems. That's not there in DMR. It doesn't send faxes. It's mainly a voice, digital voice. No, Scott, you got anything to add to that?
It's data. You do messaging and so on. Now, it doesn't do photographs. You can't, but it will. Someday they'll
Yeah.
put that in there. No, it supports packet.
There's 2 generalized time slots. You put it in whatever software you like.
There is a head you can buy for the Motorola radio that will do a photo, you know, and send that picture, but we don't go there right now.
And the messaging, whoever you're sending the message to has to be online. It doesn't store or
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, it actually be
Now, that's as of today, but because everything's archived, it's a matter of time. Brandmeister probably will develop something that'll allow us to do that kind of stuff. 'Cause, I mean, it's just crazy what these people are doing. You know. Any questions? Any other questions?
Well, I guess I didn't hear the answer to my previous question. Does the Weather Service have their own frequencies, or do they use the ham bands? And The further question is, can you do the same techniques on HF?
Okay, the question is, do the web servers have their own frequency?
Weather service.
Weather service,
No, they use ham bands. They do not have their own frequencies.
right. That's right.
One point though, the weather service made to us, when they're have a weather situation and you see some weather that's threatening something that they may want to know about, you know, hail's beginning or something, they do not care how we communicate. If you call them on the radio and the radio, they don't answer you, they want you to pick up your phone and call them. They don't care how you call them. You know, some guys say, I gotta keep trying to use my ham radio, you know, to get to, no, pick up the phone.
I mean, as a storm spotter, we've been given several ways to get a hold of them, text them or whatever. They still want that forum to be used. We just have another tool in the toolbox that can be used.
Ron, to answer your question more specifically, National Weather listens to W0GQ here. Yes. And we talk to them. You actually will hear them when we're doing storm spotting locally. That's their frequency in Deceiver.
Yep. And what they're doing is they're adopting DMR. So Iowa 31199, they will also provide bulletins and things on that format.
Now, they're not abandoning what's already there.
No, they're not giving anything up. They're enhancing what they're doing. Because what they're realizing is the numbers of people out there.
Okay, and the answer to my second question,
And I'm sorry.
is this being extended to HF?
No, HF, as far as DMR, is not an HF system. DMR today is FM. It's an FM system. It's either VHF or UHF FM. Will HF be used? Yeah, if a link goes down and we need to communicate, we all have our field days. We know there's other ways. You can do CW, you can do anything you want to get a hold of other stations. We'll do what we have to do to communicate.
Are you talking about using digital voice, HF?
I think what he's talking about is hooking up a DMR capable protocol, a modem, to my audio in and out of my HF radio.
I have not heard of it or seen it.
Okay, because, you know, you may be out in the middle of the Atlantic and you want to get on your DMR network through your HF radio, and so I interpret the answer is no at this point.
Not that we know of.
Yes, no.
I believe the standard answer right now is you'd have a hotspot and you'd have a satellite hookup for internet. You'd link up the internet if you want to talk in the middle of the Atlantic and you get on the network. That would be their response today, I believe. But there's a lot of opportunity. Any other questions? Well, we got it covered, hopefully.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
That map you showed of Iowa, that's available on the Brandmaster site?
That map of Iowa is in our files section of our DMR Facebook page. You can go to the Brandmeister and you can see individual repeater sites and look at each repeater site, look up by repeater. And you can go in there and click plot.
I was just wondering if every state has that, because that looks convenient.